Legendary singer and songwriter Neil Sedaka has passed away at the age of 86. We're going to check into his life and his legacy. Who was Neil Sedaka? Now, Neil Sedaka was born March 13th, 1939 in Brooklyn, New York, and his mother's name was Eleanor and his father's name was Mac, and he had a sister named Ronnie. And according to a 1950 census, they also had other extended family living with them in a 2-bedroom apartment. Neil's dad was a taxi driver and his mom was a stay-at-home mother. Neil's second grade teacher saw that he was talented musically and that he had a good singing voice, and she sent a note home with Neil to the parents suggesting that they should get him piano lessons. So Neil's mother got a part-time job in a department store called Abraham and Strauss, and she worked for 6 months to purchase a upright piano for Neil. Now, he got so good that when he was around 8 years old in 1947, he successfully auditioned for a scholarship to the Juilliard School of Music for Children, which he attended every Saturday. On September 11, 1962, he married Leva Strasberg. Neil and Leva had 2 children, a son and a daughter, named Dara and Mark. And Neil was married for over 6 decades to Leva before he passed away a few days ago. Now, when Neil was still in high school in 1955 and 1956, he joined a band called the Linktones, and he was attending Abraham Lincoln High School in Brooklyn, but that was the first band he was in. Eventually, they changed the name from the Linktones to the Tokens, and it was basically a doo-wop and a rhythm and blues band, but at some point, Neil Sedaka went off on his own. The band went on without Neil, but they did have a huge hit called The Lion Sleeps Tonight, and if you were around back then, you know the song. Now, Neil wrote over 500 songs, not just for himself, but for other artists. His mother wanted him to be a classical pianist, and she wasn't very happy when he discovered pop music. But her mind changed when he received a 5-figure royalty check for Calendar Girl, and then she decided maybe pop music isn't so bad. Now, his earliest hits, breaking through the top 20, was The Diary in 1959, and he also had Old Carol in 1959. That reached number 9 by songwriter Carole King. And he also, in 1960, had The Stairway to Heaven. That reached number 9. Calendar Girl in 1961 peaked at number 4 on the charts. Happy Birthday Sweet 16 was in 1962, and that peaked at number 6 on the chart. And 1962 also had Breaking Up Is Hard to Do, and that reached number 1 on the music charts. Now, from the mid-60s to the mid-70s, Neil Sedaka's popularity declined, and he wasn't having any more top 20 hits. And one day he was at a Bee Gees concert, and he was backstage, and he ran into Elton John. And Elton John said that he's a big fan of Neil's, and he's got all his records. And he told Neil that he's going to make him a number 1 artist again, and which he did. He also sang a duet with Elton John, and it was called Bad Blood, and it reached number 1 in the Billboard Top 100 in October 1975. Now, while Elton John was at the height of his career, he was singing Philadelphia Freedom and all kinds of top hits, Neil Sedaka wasn't doing too bad himself. 1975 was a comeback year for Neil Sedaka. He not only sang the duet Bad Blood with Elton John, he also co-wrote Love Will Keep Us Together for Captain and Tennille, which was a number 1 hit in 1975 during his comeback. In 1975, he also had a top hit called The Hungry Years. Neil Sedaka continued over the decades to perform in concert, live concerts. Here he is in Palm Springs 2023. I just watched his last interview before he passed away on digital media. I think it was with his grandson. Last time he was on video, his last photos was outside of his favorite restaurant, and I'm not sure if it was Craig's restaurant in West Hollywood, because he had two different places that he was his favorites. But here he is leaving the restaurant just 2 days before he passed away. And 2 days later, on February 27th, 2026, he had a sudden illness and he passed away at a Los Angeles hospital. And they have not disclosed the cause of death. And Neil Sedaka is survived by his wife, Leva, of 63 years, his 2 children, and 3 grandchildren. So we say farewell to Neil Sedaka, who leaves behind a legacy and a large catalog. And I think he said in his last interview it was 700 songs. So, anyway, thanks for the memories and rest in peace, Neil Sedaka. Thanks for listening and peace.